Alright, so for the second anniversary, I decided to make a small custom of a 30-minute missions kit that you can replicate at home. You know, there's no need to paint or customize the pieces, everything is gonna be stock. So with that in mind, let's talk about everything you're gonna need to make what I like to call the Yonaguni. So how to make the Yonaguni? Well, before we go in, let's just talk about the 30-minute missions kits in general. They are just base model kits that you can customize, and as you can see in the pictures, they're made of modules, so they're very easy to build upon and change pieces. So the idea of making a custom kit becomes a lot more easier because you don't have to paint or you don't have to modify your pieces. For the main body, we're gonna need the Portanova Red for the red color frame and the Portanova Dark Red for the frame and the rest of the armor. So far, this thing should be simple, you know, you're just making out the color scheme. If you see the picture right now, you're gonna see that it's, you know, almost like a base model kit. So now let's try to work on the armor. So for the armor, and this is where a lot of work is gonna come in, we're gonna need the option parts commander for the Portanova, and you will need two of this one. We're gonna use the head armor, the chest, the right shoulder, and two of the shields. Next, we're gonna need the option armor for Elite Officer Seal Nova, and that's a long name. We're gonna need to use the knife part that comes with it for the right shoulder, the left shoulder, and the two large pieces that go into the shoulders. For this one, we're gonna be doing something a little bit different, and we're gonna use them for the skirt armor. And now that we got that section ready, we are gonna use the arm extension parts from the option parts set 8. We're gonna use those with connectors that come with the option parts in our other sets to connect the two commander shields that we had left from before. You'll see how those look, because explaining it is a little bit different than showing it. Now for the legs, we're gonna be using the leg extension parts that come from the option parts set 2. And for the knee armor, we are going to be using the extra knee armor from the booster unit, whatever. To attach them, we are going to need to use connectors that come with the option parts that I said before. It's going to be a tiny connector. It has a 3mm connector to a flat head connector. You know, that is going to look pretty much like how the usual knee armor is going to connect to a base kit. Again, this one is a little bit hard to explain, but if you have the parts with yourself, it's going to be easy. Well, now that the Yonaguni is looking a bit more beefy, you know, there's a lot of connections in there. We said connector a lot of times before. Let's focus on the accessories. For the accessories, we're gonna need two of the option backpack 1, and we're gonna use two of those, attaching them to the standard Portanova backpack with the wings pointing up and the boosters by their sides. And the second unit, we're gonna be using with the same setup but on reverse. As you can see in the picture, it's a little bit more easy to see than explain, like many things in this video so far. I recommend lining them up, you know, a little bit, so the booster looks beefier and it has that Gundam Seed vibe that we, you know, are trying to achieve with this one. And now for the gun, it comes with a lot of pieces. Again, we're gonna be using the customized weapon Gatling unit. We're gonna be using the main gun with the magazine attachment, and for the barrel, we're gonna be using the barrel attachment that comes in the option parts set 1. You know, for some extra flavor, we add the stock from the customized weapons fantasy weapon. That's a long name again. And speaking of that set, we're gonna be using the spike ball that comes with that one for the left shoulder, so we can complete that asymmetrical look that we've been trying to achieve. And with that, the Yonaguni is ready. But you now might be thinking, hey, isn't this like a Red Saku commander? You know, hasn't, you know, Scarle built this before on stream? Don't think too much about it. You can also be wondering about, well, is it this a little bit too much red, or can we make it cheaper? I know it said there was a lot of pieces, but don't worry too much about it, because I have another solution. I thought about the same thing that you did, so I made a second unit, so you can call it the cheap model, or rather a more fitting name, and that would be the emo color scheme. Yeah, we are doing this one again. So now here comes a mouthful of names for the pieces to make your own emo Yonaguni. You're gonna need a Portanova Black for the main body, and the Portanova space type dark purple for the armor and the frame. The idea is that the armor is going to be black and the frame is going to be red. You'll see how those look because I'm going to be pulling the pictures on screen. For the armor pieces, we're going to use the commander armor that we used before, you know, as said by 2, and that's the main reason actually. We're going to be using the chest piece and the headpiece. For the skirts and the knees, we're going to use the space type armor, and for the shoulders, you're going to make a weird little connection that uses the Portanova knee armor that we're not using with the space type brace armor. You know those little chunky pieces that go in the arms that look in the picture? Yeah, basically we're gonna be using those with the same connection that I mentioned about the flat head with the 3mm connector. This is a mouthful of names and pieces. Don't worry, you can always go back and watch the video, and the pictures are gonna show in themselves. You might get an idea how they work. Oh, and you thought I was ready? Hell no, there comes the accessories. We're going to be using the option part set 13, and specifically the wireless weapon pack, the little, you know, like railings that go in the backpack. And for the guns, you'll need 2 copies of the main gun from the option weapon, one for Rabiot or whatever. The extra cool factor on my copy is that I'm using the barrel for the Alto weapon, the base one, and the blades from the dog mecha. The good thing is, Scarle, I think you have the dog mecha, so you can do this. It's not gonna look the same, but it's gonna look similar. With that said, that is the Emo Jonaguni. You can see both of them together in a picture that I'm gonna be pulling up, and yeah, it's a lot more simple, but with a color scheme that feels right at home for Scarle. Well, with that said, what I did here is just a general recommendation. You can make this at home with different pieces, because that's the great thing about 30-minute missions, is that you can make your very own custom without the need or the, you know, obligation to follow the rules. There's a lot of room to experiment. So with that said, happy 2nd anniversary, Morenita. Thank you for everything you do. This was a fun experience. I hope if you manage to do something similar to this, you can do a stream about it, whatever the case may be. Happy anniversary and have a good one. You thought I forgot about saying something in Spanish this time around, but I didn't. This was a little bit of a rush up. I'm sorry about that. I might be cooking something else in the background, but in the meantime, feliz segundo aniversario, linda. Eres mi morenita hermosa, tú lo sabes. Y espero que tengamos mucho más aniversario juntos. We reached the 8-minute marks. I need my money. I need the monetization. Don't think too much about it. I didn't say anything. I'm dying. I'm dying of cringe. Don't think it much. Don't. Bye.